Good morning. How's it going? I have a TV. It's linked to my computer. I was just looking at it over here. Got kind of a neat little uh land pad or whatever you'd say going on here. Made a nice little comfortable nest for myself. Just to clarify so people don't misinterpret where I'm coming from. I um live in in the same house as my folks, my parents. I take care of them. They're uh, they're both disabled. My father's a disabled veteran, and my mom had a stroke back in 2006, and it just worked out to everybody's advantage. That they could live on their own, and I could live on my own. It just kind of helps us all out if we're all kind of together. If I ever find a girlfriend or wife, she'll have to deal with my parents like that close and personal. So could be a reason why I don't know. I guess if you don't tell people exactly what's up, then you're not really lying to them. But I don't really like being deceitful. I don't like misstepping, or that's why I told something that's kind of would seem somewhat embarrassing at times. Like, oh, you're a grown adult man, you live with your parents. Yes, I do, but it's more of a success story than not. So I'd rather maybe just leave it there at that. I would just probably want to like that relationship thing. If I ever found a wife, her and I could live somewhere else nearby. At least I could live close by and check on the folks every once in a while, make sure they're all right. And plus, they qualify for in-home living care too. So if I ever did leave and it was that necessary, they could have somebody, nurses and stuff, take care of them. So come in and check on them. So anyhow, I'm gonna go through my checklist. I have what I have been able to remember from all that my questions. I still have questions, questions with what I know. My voice is groggy. I'm trying to clear it out. I just woke up. It's like, but anyways, hopefully that drink of water will help me out a little bit. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at when I'm talking to you or anybody on YouTube and they're looking at my channel and they're coming up to adjust my computer and the camera a little bit here. I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at the volume bar, so I'm trying to stay in tune with that so that I know that no matter what quality the sound comes in, at least it'll be clear and you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. So I'm I just offered um, I'm offering Muslims and other people from other religions to leave their religion if you want to. We don't conform. We're against conforming. We're not going to conform like the Catholic Church. While the Catholic Pope is out drawing people in, we're trying to draw people away from that, and we want people to think more clearly and more individually than that. So I'm offering their priests and also other Catholic, just regular Catholic going people to break away from the Catholic Church. You only need a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'll say it again, if people, that's coming straight from the belly of Satan if you want to mock me for talking about Christ. But tell me a time, well, except for I know that physically here people get killed for being a Christian, but literally the overall picture is they get eternal life. You want to talk about the difference between Christ and the devil, which is really true, a true phenomenon that I believe exists for real, and um, individually have been kind of weeded out to have been clearly notified of the existence personally. So I know something's there. I'll tell you what the devil is. The devil is all about deception, complete. Where you been to school, or you've been somewhere you hang out with people or whatever, and you ever had a trick played on you or something kind of underhand happen to you. Um, it's it's crafty works from the devil. That's what he represents, and that's what he does to people. It doesn't say anywhere along any line that Jesus Christ ever came and deceived anybody and was the wrong person, but people still, through um, different things that the devil throws at people, still can be made to believe that there's something wrong with Jesus Christ. So I ask for people, if you're homosexual too, I'm asking you, I said that you can be a part of what we're doing and be a Christian. And I told you how to save yourself, save your soul, and leave and just abandon the homosexuality and be clean. If you have a problem with it and you can't um, stop it, I told you that that you work through prayer and you have more than one person, and then you can speak privately also too, a preacher, but you need to go to a place how you can tell the difference between true Christians and religions. Possibly right now, is my opinion, is they try their best to make people understand that our bodies are a holy vessel, and for one man to do fornication, or however you'd say that, homosexual sex or whatever to another man, is a desecration and defiling of the body. And it's another trick from Satan to mislead people and make them believe what they're doing is all right. And anyway, so the places, any place that'll do a baptism, I prefer how John the Baptist did it. I wasn't baptized that way. I was baptized by our Christian friend who was like, I would say like Catholic, because he blessed me on my forehead. And but I'm just telling people, my personal opinion is I would prefer if you went to a Baptist church, and if they also taught that the rapture happens at the end of the tribulation, because that we're going to get into that too. Um, Pick a church that does that and have them baptize you, accept Christ, or if you think that you have a relationship with Christ, go there, kneel before the altar, ask Christ to forgive you of your sins, and then ask for to be baptized in the water. And they asking people to be dipped there. I like the Baptist church right now. So the Baptist church that tells what I just explained, that is who I would preferring to tell people to go to, and um, then that's how you're going to get away from that, and then you'll understand more that it was a sin. But like I also said, the devil also wants to make people feel guilty for their past sins. Um, so try your best to not feel guilt after that part, or just be free from it and don't worry about it. because it's in God's hands, and He'll deal with it. And it says that He takes that sin or that bad thing that you did out of the book of life, so it's not mentioned that you did it anymore. Once you ask for forgiveness. But then I also told people here now how if you had a problem with getting away, because it might not just be homosexuality, it could be something else. But clearly, people are separating and pulling away from God and what He's really truly wanting people to understand and feel. So I would like to take the time for any priest that feels the way I do. This is where I'll have I'll have my preachers will come in from there, because that's how the Catholic Church right now has people even hanging that church on by a thread, because there are true believers in there and they're scratching their heads right now wondering what to do. Possibly, I'm just guessing, because the entire world cannot be brainwashed with this one world religion thing. Like I said, we'll get into the one world religion here in a minute. So I think that's that's a little bit political. I think I'll skip that for another time and another place. I say okay. The rapture happens at the end of the tribulation, because also how you know that is the Bible says Christ comes a second time, not a third time. If He came back at the beginning of the tribulation or in the middle of the tribulation and not at the end, that would put Him into a third time. He would have to come back here. He'd come back in the rapture, and then He would have to come back at the end to defeat Satan. And that's not the way it goes down. That's not how it's always been taught since Jesus Christ in the Bible or wherever else it's explained this to Christians. That's what they have been taught. So we're looking at the great deception that we have in the rapture. Now, whenever I felt that, you felt a disparity kind of already, like for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's a lie, but it says that it basically made me feel how people were preaching that the rapture happened at some time. I guess the nervousness could also be from, well, you have to be ready. You have to be, A-OK ready for when Christ comes back. Well, the thing of it is, I was overjoyed. I was filled with an overwhelmingness of joy, because I am confident in myself in being able to withstand temptation and being able to withstand other people's domains and their whatever they're going to throw at you, and even coming down to physical fight. I'm just that confident in myself um, to not worry in that sense, but it also made me believe that there's now my thinking of being a stronger Christian and a Christian that's able to fight. That is what draws me to the rapture happening at the end of the tribulation. That's what it makes me feel like we're supposed to be fighters here. Get our cross. The way that the Catholics always did it too was they had Jesus on the cross still, and it probably is a Protestant notion, and that's maybe where I got the notion from. But we believe that Christ is no longer on the cross, because obviously he died. He went to hell. He preached to people in hell for 3 days. Then he came back and rose from the dead after 3 days, and he isn't on the cross anymore. So we don't believe in symbolizing the cross with him crucified on it still, because we still believe that that represents it represents his torment, but as if he's still there, and he's not. He's alive and he is well today. So, and it was a thought I knew that I would remember it if I just got on here and talked, but Jesus left us in the flesh and will return to us in the flesh and be with us again. And he'll meet us in the clouds, it says. But Jesus is always going to be here in spirit with true believers, people who believe in him. So they made it kind of a lot simpler than it was before. It was very voluntary and very disciplined. You have to discipline yourself back in the day. I'd say a lot more than you do today. But if you could discipline yourself today, what would that do for you? Could you actually reach an immortal state and just live for 900 years? Because it says that people lived a great deal back at the beginning of time and stuff. Adam and Eve and all of their children all lived a really long time. So is it from basically what God was telling them to eat, and basically the way that they lived, you know? So spirituality has a little bit to do with it. So I'm on course. I was talking about manna. So I want to introduce manna now. So manna is going to be, it's spiritual, and it's like reading your Bible. So taking in the word and being filled with food that way. But we're also going to, like I said, through science, our own science, but it's not a science that we just came up with either. It's always been there. And I'm going to explain. This is going to trip your head. This is going to trip everybody's head where I'm coming from for the immortality that I'm basically trying to lay out here, discussing immortality. I'm trying to lay it out here. So, the Dracula. Did you know that he's depicted? Count Dracula is depicted as like real evil, like creature like. Okay, Vlad the Impaler, Dracula. I'll show you this. Stoker's Dracula as Christian fiction, meant to symbolize the devil. Then it is clearly Stoker's intent to show that the evil one is resisted to the power of God. Okay, Vlad the Impaler, Dracula, where they got Dracula from. He's supposed to, like it just said right there, you can go to Wikipedia and read about it. But he's a Christian. And so the whole story, this, who I just said, did the movie Dracula? Stoker's Dracula, yeah, exactly. Good movie. I thought it was pretty cool when I first saw it, right? He got the whole entire storyline from the real Dracula. And so the whole storyline, everything that they threw into that story obviously was a little bit closer to the truth than being fictional. And the fictional part that they put in there was that he was satanic, a satanic symbol, when really Dracula was a Christian and a Christian symbol all along. And the reason why was because, like, we're in a time now where you need to be on guard, you need to be strong, and being able to take care of yourself and to teach other people how to defend themselves, even if they're not up to par, and to be able to fight because of the time that you're living in. And the time that he was living in, it took into account that he had to be a pretty intense warrior. You know, he was obviously he wasn't defeated and killed thousands by the thousands, right? And he was fighting mainly was it Turkish Muslims? He was fighting Muslims in general, like the Persians, maybe, sort of like that. He was fighting the other kind of people that we're fighting today, more or less, and he had reached a immortal state of being. So the Bible says that at the end of times that we're going to basically we're going to head for the hills in the mountains. So that's how the Christians, I guess we're going to have to evacuate our places unless some of our cities and towns are far enough up away where we could defend ourselves from the military or from any hostile forces from the devil at the end of times during the tribulation. Jesus said himself that we will head for the hills, and that's in Matthew 20. He also says that in that text there through the whole message up till basically till you get to 30. Matthew 24:30, I believe. You read all the way from Matthew 24 to 30, 24 to 24:30 is what I'm saying. Those verses, then it tells you to explain it a lot better, but it's a it's a great lie to have Christians be prepared to lie down and be a sacrifice, so the devil just gets more of his 2 cents in before his end does come, and then he's able to press more Christians whenever the time comes they're going to try to force us to take the mark of the beast, or we'll be decapitated, or they'll cut our heads off, right? So whenever they've been teaching that the rapture happens before the tribulation or in the middle of the tribulation, and then they make a sound argument about it, is misleading, and it goes into the New World Order, where they have one money, and they're going to go into one money program, and they're going to have one truly false religion. I said truly false religion, because it's going to look and feel to everybody that it's the real deal. And that's a lot of what's been going on with the Catholic Church right now. And they're bringing all these different, they're trying to bring them back to the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church was what the Pilgrims and other people that know the difference got away from, so that they weren't forced more like from a parliament, or forced from, you know, a dictatorship or something like that, or whatever's going on in the world, and they're just going to go with the world's view. We don't just go with the world's view, because we understand that the world is wicked, and it's going to try and drag us and everybody all in with it. It's an evil, you know, thing to get sucked into, and we all know it's true. We all know that's true. There's not a single person, I do not believe, on the planet that doesn't know what I'm talking about, doesn't know that I'm not making sense, and don't know, and that it's not the truth. So they've been telling a lie about the whole entire time, and it's just crazy to me to now know that the Christians are not going into the rapture until at the end of the tribulation. Jesus has to take us and everybody away to safety, because he's going to wipe this planet out. We're all going to be taken up to the clouds, where we'll meet with him. The dead will go first, then the living. Whoever survives to the end, Jesus says, is going to meet him in the clouds. And that's because he said that the moon and the sun will not shine on the earth anymore, and that the stars are going to fall out. So there's a lot of meaning there, and it says exactly what it says. There's no hop, skipping, jumping around with what it says. It's cut and dry. Jesus was to the point, and he answered the man the question, and told them what was going on. And he told them all about all the other prophecies too, about basically about Satan going into the temple and all of that. But they have to remember that at the same time, they had to have known that wasn't the end. His disciples, after he died, and they tried to put a statue of Caesar in there or whatever in the temple, they had to have known. I would have known it wasn't the time, and that it wasn't then, and I would have been really scratching my head, and then realized once the statue was destroyed, or however, whatever happened there, because the prophets didn't come back yet. Two prophets come back, Enoch and who's the other guy? Enoch and I can't think of his name. It's still early, but I wanted to just say something about Moses. Some people thought it was Moses, but I'm wondering if God did put Moses to sleep, and Moses is not really dead. He's just resting until he can come out and be maybe one of Jesus's generals, one of God's generals. Maybe he comes back and leads the Jewish people somehow or something. But there's two prophets that come and preach to the world for 3.5 years, and then they're executed. They're going to be killed. Remember I said when our troops were killed in Somalia, and they desecrated their bodies and drug their bodies down the streets of Somalia like that, that's what the people of the world are going to do to the two prophets that God has kept waiting until that time, until he brings them back, and they're going to preach for that long to the world, so nobody will have an excuse at that point. And I believe also that the world will be sterilized, unable to have children, because everybody will have to be at the age of accountability, um, in my opinion. So if the rapture happens at the end, it's just kind of weird there. uh, how that sounds, because you can't put a microchip, or the mark of the beast or whatever, um, in somebody under a certain age and them be held accountable for that. There's an age of accountability with human beings with God, and it's some people try and make an argument that it's whatever place they're from or whatever, but I believe, like what the Jews believe, that it's at about age 13, like where Jewish people have their Hanukkah. I believe that that's when a young boy would necessarily become a man. He would start being a man at 13. So he's still a young man and just come fresh out of being a boy, but he's still a man. And from what I understand, David was a boy when he killed Goliath. So we're talking like 6 or 7 years old. We're saying he was tiny guy, tiny kid. But anyways, the two prophets go and they preach to people. It sounds like it's supposed to be in purgatory, because I don't know how they people can make an argument either with purgatory. So that's one of my questions right there that I'll hopefully get answered. I'll beat around with it until I get an answer for it. But how do you have Jesus go and preach to people in hell and then in purgatory too? Is purgatory just for people that lived a normal life and didn't really sin? Or what is purgatory? Is it just for Christians who are going to go to heaven eventually someday anyways? So because Jesus went to hell and he preached to the people in hell and brought them out of hell. And that's basically what I was always taught to believe, that the purpose of when he died and went to hell and came back, that was what his journey to hell was, intention to get people like I pointed out that God in the Bible clearly lays out what kind of people he was talking to when Jesus went to hell. When he was on the cross and he was being hung there, he was preaching. He was like, I am the way and the light. I am the truth, way and the light. And whatever he was saying and communicating to these guys, excuse me, I'm sorry, my throat is really, really dry. But he got one guy to confess his sins, and the other guy didn't. So out of that symbolizes, I believe, right before Jesus went to hell in his mission and went and preached to them and brought some back, I believe that the two men on either side represented mankind. One went with what he said and believed and was born again, and he went to purgatory to wait to go to heaven, or would had went to heaven, however that worked. But Jesus saved the man right there and was unable to save the other man. So when he went to hell, that's what I truly believe the people in hell were going to be like once Christ went and confronted them. And if it's like a conference or something, like all the demon activity and everything has to stop so that these people can sit there and listen to him and listen to them. I know that the Bible says that we're dealing with a merciful God, and it's just kind of ironic how things worked out like this. But you have a demonic force on one side that is all about deceiving and deception and tricking people. And then you have another side that hasn't ever told a lie and has always been upfront with people. So go with the one that's got all the class, that wouldn't rip you off. Okay, and they are completely coming from truth. There's going to be a point in time. I said this real quick because also Jesus said that our days will be short. So we're in the time where our days will be short to leading up to the time when he comes back. So when we're in that time, more and more stuff is going to be revealing, and like whatever people want to believe in one way or another, they're going to be forced. All the human race, one way or another, is going to be forced to either go with God or go with the devil. And it'll all be revealing soon. The days are short, I believe that. So pretty soon this will be revealed to everybody. So I'm not sure if some people that are not saved don't actually go to hell. It sounds like they go to hell. It sounds like the people who are, because you go back to the story about the man who was a leopard or however you say that. He was a sick, homeless man who begged. He was a beggar, and the rich man walked by and mocked him every day. And then the rich man was in hell, begging for a drop of water, and he said, basically, I can't do anything for you. He was in purgatory. The man who was saved, the man with sores and stuff, and the other guy wasn't. So maybe that might be also another answer to people's question: do handicapped people go to hell? No, they don't. They go to purgatory, and they sit there and wait to go to heaven. And they're also can be in a position, if they force the issue with God, to be put in an issue where he may pass judgment over him, over the person, over anybody. But that's where we're getting to where we want to be free, so we don't have to be watched. I think that's a big part in understanding, misconstrued. Would you say that it's misconstrued, the information? Because I do not believe that it's leading towards for us to be bound, because the opposite, the evil people are the ones that are bound. They're bound mentally at the end. Christ also says that also. So what we're also working towards in our minds, or believing in Christ and through Christ, is our own freedoms with our own luxuries. So to be able to live life, or whatever we have, we put it all into perspective, not being greedy or deceitful or anything like that. And so it has kind of a perfect, basically, atmosphere about it. How could it not? So you're you're we're working towards more freedom. So you're getting more power, and you're getting more strength, and you're getting more abilities, and God's bringing you up, not down. So to think that otherwise, the other side is in bondage. They're in bondage. They're in chains. Okay? We are the type that they can come for us here in the physical, and they could put us in bonds and chains, and we will still be free, because that's what God wants us to be. Like, sort of like the wild, but but different. We're in a different class than the beast in the wild. So Yeah, we talked about Dracula a little bit, so that's a misconception, and that's right now is what I'm working on right now, and I want to be able to do it if I'm called to duty or some other, you know, thing occurs, while I'm basically putting all of the mechanisms together for myself to where whatever I have to do mobily, even to take care of myself and to learn how to get back to living a long, meaningful life, say over 200 years. You know, they're saying people break 100 years now. But if somebody doesn't look old, if they look, say, like me, right? And I was 150 years old because I lived up in the mountains in Utah, you know, and I had this, my family had this weird mineral that came up out of the ground we found, and it was like the fountain of youth, but it preserved the person so well that they were just that old. The government maybe even know about it, but they kept it quiet because they don't want to freak people out or something like that. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what basically this comes down to Dracula, this guy, and he was a Christian too. He was a crusader. He was a Christian warrior. So they're basically saying that that this guy, so if he were alive today, where couldn't he live somewhere in the world, especially amongst other Christians, and survive and not have to worry about um, you know, anything. What he did was a long time ago, and it was warfare. So all I'm saying is they took the storyline from our um, Count Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. They call him Vlad the Impaler, and I've seen some people try and make documentation on the guy, and they acted like he was some piece of garbage or something like that. And from when I was always made aware of what he was doing, all those people that he killed were trying to kill him. So I don't know how, if somebody comes and tries to kill me, I don't know how you're gonna say if I killed them that I'm an evil person. You know, that makes me almost like wish that there was a way that I could come for you for saying that. That's really truly what I think, and you would only obviously, I mean, you're not that stupid to not realize that you just irked me. If I sit here, anybody in self-defense, somebody attacks them or something happens, and the person survives or kills the other person, they go to jail and all this other stuff in our society, even though they were only defending themselves. So all I know is the dynamics of the game are going to change, and it's going to change real quick. But it's always been a kind of divide and conquer kind of thing. So people truly need to know who they're with and who they're not with. So people are not getting caught up in the rapture. So there's people living their lives thinking that they can pray and whatever else they're doing, they're praying towards this rapture that isn't going to happen until the end, and they're totally misled. So if you're praying like that, don't you think you're confusing the prayer and what you're asking for? You're confusing it up in the stars and in the heavens and whatever else you expect it to reflect back. Because Christians, I believe, only are looking for positivity, uh, and anybody else is only trying to conquer the day or whatever army so that we aren't forced into some philosophy we don't want to believe in. And that's the way our whole entire species of people have been taught for thousands of years. And then to have my own kind of people here, regardless of what color they are now, if they're in America, I could say it doesn't matter who you are, to have my own kind is an American person, doesn't matter what color you are, try and tell me different and try and tell me off. You know what I mean? And it's all about our home and where we live, how we're going to take care of the planet. We don't throw garbage on the ground. We recycle, you know, all of our milk jugs and everything. You know what I mean? Our cans. But we do what is necessary and we do what is right. And people are, you know, I want to swear. I really do. I'm kind of a bent out of shape, kind of angry kind of guy from the way things are and the way people mistreat the planet. I just don't want to put myself into perspective like Moses. So if I am able through God and Jesus to earn something good and massive, I don't want to look at it and then be taken away from it because I curse somebody out, you know. And that's how I am, and that's the kind of person I am. Literally, I'll curse you out, and I'll be ruthless about it. And it's only because I've been only stabbed straight. You know, you talk about stab people in the back, but I've been straight. Where you're talking to somebody on the internet or somewhere else, and you would least expect somebody who you're taught to respect or have their back or whatever come off like a total piece of work and to curse me out or tell me off, you know. So I've had it enough with enough people that I just I don't I don't clam up like shut down. I basically put a defense up and I'm ready to fight now because of people's mouth, because their mouth. So anyhow, Dracula is a good guy, not a bad guy, and he's not demonic. The one that's Hollywood depicting the guy, obviously the real Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, has reached immortality, where he's probably going to remain alive until the rapture happens. And you know, he through Christ he got these extraordinary powers. So maybe he can fly, kind of like he's light, like maybe he's strong like a lion, like a mountain lion, and can climb up a rock super fast and just disappear like that. But that is literally um, the true origin of Dracula, is that he maybe shape shifted also, but his powers came from Christ, from being a Christian. So people who want to doubt me on my immortality, um, I guess it's a complex. I guess it is my immortality complex that I have, that I truly believe I'm going to man and accomplish. I truly believe that because all things through Christ are possible, and that is the scope I'm putting my own immortality into. People are going to reach an immortality level here through the tribulation. I believe a lot of people probably know that by now. Up to this point, people aren't going to be able to die, so they're going to say, um, like, you get bit by a snake or a scorpion or something else that would normally kill people, they're not going to be able to die until until the big um, eruption happens at the end, where God, uh, where we're met up into the air, the rapture happens, and then God destroys the planet. Um, those people that are here will be living a partial immortal level that they will be on. It'll be like maybe like zombie, maybe like being a zombie. They come back, maybe, I don't know, but I know that it says that people won't be able to die, so something crazy is going to happen at the end to make them all die at the end. And then then there's a concept that they're thrown into the bottomless pit. I'm going to go from that point, what happens there, and I'll do some more research to figure out exactly, um, you know, what happens there, how do we re-inherit the earth, because God is going to fix the planet, because remember, New Jerusalem's coming here, and God's new temple is going to be erected on there in Jerusalem. So, and that's where God is going to sit on his throne. So, he's going to do something phenomenal to make the earth, maybe burn it to a crisp and burn all the disease and everything off of it. And then he's going to start from a clean slate. He's going to start the planet up again, renewed. So everything gets renewed. And we'll meet, and we'll just have and be able to meet our goals of immortality at that point. But right now, what I'm talking about is a better way of living. So how anybody else would basically take care of themselves and really truly be able to gain huge muscle mass and become a huge bodybuilder if they wanted to. From what I'm talking about eating, depends on how much of a diet you're able to actually consume in a day. Depends on how big you become. Me, I'm just trying to get a line where online, basically, where I can take care of all my duties and chores and things, and whatever else, maybe add to the list. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to add to my list of duties that I have and not get worn out from what I'm doing. So I do have a thing through science. Like I said, I didn't come up with it, and it wasn't just made yesterday. I have a few things that I've been working on through my garden, my own garden, and other means. I'm going to put something crazy, and you'll see me soon. It's going to be a little while, though, but you'll see me transform. If I'm still around, so I'm hoping I am able to, do more videos and upstream that point whenever I reach my goal, and I'm finally at that point, because I'm about 200 pounds almost, and probably 13% body fat, maybe, something like that. But it's not all unhealthy. It's not like I eat a lot of healthy food to gain the weight. So I gain weight from eating Raisin Bran, drinking a lot of milk, and eating melon, and fruit, just stuffing myself with fruit and stuff like that at times. So it's not. Sometimes I do if I gorge on something that's say chocolatey or whatever. It's not healthy for you, like Doritos or something. I feel it, and it shows up on my body, my man boobs. Pardon me if that offends anybody, my man boobs. So if I eat Doritos, I get out of shape. Because I do exercise, but I put my exercise, like I said, into my chores and things like that. But I will be jogging as soon as I get my shoes, and been waiting for a pair of shoes I want a pair of Nikes or something that I can go jog. I want to try to jog 2 miles a day. But anyhow, the Great Rapture is a lie. It was a lie. And I don't know if I believe it goes into making Christians weak for the devil at the end of times during the tribulation, so they'll be totally thrown off and unprepared for the fact that we are all going through the tribulation. We're not getting raptured before that. And were they going to make it sound like we get raptured and then God blows the place up? From what I understand, Jesus unleashes his wrath at that point when we're caught up in the rapture, and that's it. That's where it goes as far as that. So I just wanted to tell people on television, there's like the Ancient Alien shows and all these other stuff. Take everything with a grain of salt. They take things with a grain of salt their own selves. So if people don't, then you're not thinking for yourself, really. You're thinking with maybe implanted thoughts, and we all are guilty, or however, we're not guilty if that's an innocent way of being sideswiped by non-truths. We are all affected by propaganda, time and then again, and at this point in time, up to now, more so. As time progresses shortly, the days are short, we're getting bombarded with more and more lies and propaganda, untruths. So with that, I just want to tell everybody that playing with demons is very dangerous, and nobody from the Bible is going to play with demons, okay? If they say that King Solomon or somebody else used demons to build a temple or to do this or that, they are surely going to hell or in hell for saying that, because that is such a lie that it puts them into a perspective where they're not only maybe unable to be saved, they put themselves in a predicament where they don't want to be saved. They want to be doomed to go to hell, and they're going to take as many people with them as they can. There's just some people, there's no way around it, that are like that, and they'll tell you any oddball thing just to drag you to hell with them. And where they're coming from is desperation, or it's definitely it's like that, and it's make you feel disparity. That's the like the main word that I'm using for despair. Like, oh, I'm so despaired, and God again would not want you to be despaired. He does not want disparity. He does not want the gray hairs to come in when you're 31 or 35, He wants everything, our gray hairs and everything, to come naturally with time and wisdom. That's why I won't ever regret having a gray hair. When my hair finally turns gray and it's all white, then I'm going to be, watch out, because I will be real serious. I'll be serious, like, because that will be my point in time where I will be purely wise. Purely wise. So do not play with demons. Yeah, they're not your friends. And I already explained what the devil does. The devil, he is a deceiver. He wants to deceive you. He wants to make you think, oh, this is all cool. And in life, we have a right to enjoy ourselves and see things that are cool and enjoy things that are cool and live our lives. But we all have to understand that one way or another, we're going to fall for one or the other. And if you're empty and you're an atheist, then you fall for it anyways. And that's the sad thing, but That's the difference between somebody's own opinion that God really did give them, and that's what it also boils down to, your free will to choose if you want to believe it or not. And I just reserve the right to be faithful. Okay, so danger is telling falsehoods. The one world religion, it goes into the new world order. So they're telling falsehoods, and like I said, one way how you can tell that that's a false religion, and and it does look, it's a big, powerful, um, you know, uh, angler, whatever, they're gonna reel in people by the mass into that sucker by doing that, okay, and they know it, but it goes into the world. It doesn't go against the world, and everybody knows that if you go against the world and against the grain, that's where you find your true champions. People who are not sinners and people who would not stab you in the back or the front just to do it. Just to despite being human or being good or whatever, people will murder for. Going back to Cain and Abel, that was the first murder. So we understand what we see in a video yesterday, and I'd say would be our friends, our Christian friends, saying that hate is like also kind of murder if you put it in your head like you want this person dead, and I know that we've all done that, so we're all guilty somewhat of murder. I know that we weren't jackasses enough to actually murder anybody, but still the thought did lie there, and we have to get to a point, yes we do, to where all these human thoughts like that make you instead of being able to look past it or whatever is beneficial to you and healthy to a human being. We don't. We play it down like a human being, and in this unnatural, unhuman beast comes out, and it's also derived from the devil. So um, be wary of those falsehoods. And like I said, another way how you could tell that I'm not necessarily a liar is because I ask questions still, okay, and I don't come off like I'm the priest or I'm the pope. I'm like everybody else. I want the truth, and people who are going to get the truth are going to be the ones who um, are basically the saints, who are going to. There's another word for what it is. I believe it was. It's the word I should be using, so I'll look for that word again as soon as I think of it and remember it. I'll write it down so I can pass it on the next video that I make. But Jesus coming back at the end is called the blessed hope of the church. That's what it's called. He comes one more time, not twice. So all right, we went through all that, getting through some of the deceptions that's out there in the world. I just gave you a couple of concepts of how you can decipher through some of the um, baloney, cut right through the chase. So we have hope and also freedom, I believe, goes into this Christian philosophy and being faithful to God and seeing it the way that he laid it out for us here recently, 2,000 years ago. That's recent, but that was, I guess, more recent than a lot of the other stuff in the Bible, anyways. Um, he sent he sent Christ and did all this stuff also for us to be able to reach our own freedom. So he wants people to be free, not not kept bonded in bondage. And also, it's not bad if God basically watches you or watches over us, because the Bible says that He cannot look. He looks away at wickedness. He can't stand it. So whenever something wicked's going on, he's like, like that. I can't believe they're doing that again. He knows all things and knew they were going to do it, but he still looks away like. So if God is looking at you and He's watching you, He's honoring you and respecting you. He thinks you're great. So be in His light, and I truly hope that this is a inspiring video. And like I said, I'll just write down the next things for my next video, and that's about it. Thanks.